Simon Yam is one of Hong Kong's most iconic actors, but his journey to the top wasn't built on glitz and glamour. From a tragic childhood to decades of struggle in B-list roles, Simon endured the darkest corners of the industry, while earning a rare kind of respect from both the film world and the criminal underworld. Rumors called him a real-life triad boss. The truth is even more fascinating. In this video, we dive deep into the life of the man no one dared to cross. If you enjoy gripping true stories, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. Simon Yam was only 11 years old when his world was turned upside down. In 1966, a horrific tragedy struck Hong Kong. A police officer, mentally unstable and furious after being insulted by a colleague, opened fire while on duty. The shooting left 7 officers wounded and killed 2. One of the victims was Simon's father, Yam Kam Chiu, a high-ranking officer in the Hong Kong police force. His death was not just a devastating loss for the city, but a life-altering moment for his wife and children. Simon, the youngest of 3 brothers, was just a child when he had to grow up overnight. The family was suddenly left with no breadwinner. They were forced to sell everything of value just to survive. His mother juggled small jobs, and the kids had to pitch in. While other children played after school, Simon was stringing beads and assembling fake flowers to earn extra money. The pressure to help support the family made him mature much faster than other kids his age. By the time he was 13, Simon stumbled across a newspaper ad that would set the stage for his future. A modeling agency was looking for young talent. The idea of being on TV and earning real money lit a fire in him. Despite being young and still growing, years of physical labor had made his body strong and toned, perfect for modeling. Not long after applying, Simon got a call back. He landed his first job in a commercial for a soft drink. He had to drink 3 bottles back-to-back on camera. His reward? A paycheck for 200 Hong Kong dollars, which at the time was more money than he'd ever seen for such a short amount of work. That first taste of success stuck with him. Modeling became his way to escape the grind of survival. He kept taking small jobs here and there while continuing his studies. Slowly, he began building a name for himself in the industry. After finishing high school, Simon fully committed to entertainment, starting off as a professional model. While Simon was diving into the world of entertainment, his older brother Peter, 2 years his senior, chose a completely different path. Peter followed in their father's footsteps and joined the Hong Kong Police Academy. He would go on to become a respected figure in law enforcement, a career move that would later have unexpected influence over Simon's own journey. In 1973, at age 18, Simon was accepted into TVB's 3rd actor training class, an elite program for aspiring performers. His classmates included future superstars like Chow Yun-fat and Ng Man-tat. It was a competitive environment where everyone fought for attention and screen time. As a newcomer, Simon started out in the background, one of many nameless faces in crowd scenes. But he was determined. He studied each role carefully, no matter how small, and gave it everything he had. Still, the competition was brutal. It was the golden age of Hong Kong entertainment, and the industry was full of rising stars. Actors like Chow Yun-fat, Andy Lau, and Tony Leung had not just talent, but a charisma that jumped off the screen. Compared to them, Simon was quiet and understated. He didn't have a flashy personality or dramatic style. In the glitzy world of TV and film, he was often overlooked. For a long stretch, Simon was best known for appearing in Category 3 films, Hong Kong's version of adult-themed movies. These roles were often seen as lowbrow and lacking artistic value. For 32 years, he acted in dozens of films without winning a single award. Many people dismissed him as just another B-list actor stuck in controversial roles. But what they didn't know was that Simon wasn't taking these parts for the fame or attention. He took whatever came his way because he had no choice. He needed the work, he needed the paycheck, and he was determined to prove that he could rise above it all. One of his most talked about early roles came in 1977, when TVB cast him in a modern drama called The Fallen Family, which featured a character who was openly gay. It was a bold and risky move at the time. Hong Kong society was far more conservative back then, and playing such a role came with a lot of judgment and gossip. But the part offered Simon something he rarely got: a lead role with real emotional depth. So he took the risk. The public talked, but Simon delivered a performance that caught the attention of casting agents and talent managers. In 1979, his career took a new turn when he signed with a film company run by the wife of famous actor-director Patrick Tay. Everyone assumed this would finally launch Simon to stardom. But instead of prestige projects, he was cast in films with dark and disturbing themes. In 1980, he played the lead in a movie called Erotic Fire of the Wandering Monk, a gritty story about a poor young man who slowly descends into madness. The film was packed with controversial scenes and was banned in several theaters. Rather than lifting Simon's career, it nearly destroyed it. Meanwhile, his classmates were soaring. Chow Yun-fat became a household name thanks to The Bund and would go on to win major acting awards. Andy Lau and others began sweeping up lead roles and trophies. Simon, in contrast, found himself stuck in the same rut, supporting roles in low-budget films that barely made a splash. Even his personal life hit turbulence. During these years of career struggle, Simon fell in love with a flight attendant named Teresa. She stayed by his side through the darkest times, and they even got married. But by 1987, the pressures of daily life, money issues, and the grind of the film industry tore them apart. Their marriage ended, and Simon was back at square one, alone, struggling, and still waiting for his big break. It would take another decade before the industry finally began to see Simon Yam for who he really was: a hardworking actor with range, grit, and depth. But in the early years, all he had was a dream, an unwavering work ethic, and a fierce will to survive. In the world of Hong Kong entertainment, fame often came with a price. And for Simon Yam, that price included being constantly surrounded by rumors, many of which linked him to the city's powerful criminal underworld. While most actors tried their best to avoid getting on the wrong side of the triads, Simon's name was spoken with a kind of respect that bordered on fear. Whispers followed him everywhere. People said gangsters didn't dare touch him. Some even claimed he was one of them. At the height of Hong Kong's film boom in the late 80s and early 90s, triads had their hands in nearly every part of the industry. They funded movies, managed talent, and were known to use violence to control actors who refused to cooperate. A-listers like Andy Lau and Karina Lau were reportedly threatened, harassed, and in some cases even kidnapped. It was no secret. Actors lived under constant pressure, not just from studios and fans, but from dangerous men with deep pockets and short tempers. And yet, somehow, Simon Yam stood untouched. The stories were wild and dramatic. One of the most famous involved Charles Hung's son, Jackie Hung. Charles Hung was one of the most feared and connected figures in Hong Kong showbiz, a man many believed to be deeply tied to the triads. His son was arrogant and known to throw his weight around, but according to street gossip, Jackie once got too bold with Simon. In response, Simon allegedly slapped him hard in front of others. The room went silent. Everyone waited to see how Charles would react, but nothing happened. No revenge, no threats, just silence. That silence said everything. Then there was the time Andy Lau, one of Hong Kong's biggest stars, found himself in serious trouble while performing in northeastern China. Gangsters there tried to shake him down. Word spread fast, and before things got worse, Simon Yam made a single phone call. That call, according to the story, ended the whole situation instantly. No one ever bothered Andy again, at least not in that part of the country. People began to believe Simon had some kind of invisible shield. Some called him a real boss in the underworld. Others said he was the only actor the triads respected because he could walk both sides, black and white, with ease. The truth, as always, was more complicated. A big part of Simon's untouchable image came from his older brother, Peter Yam. Peter wasn't just a cop. He was one of the top police officers in all of Hong Kong, eventually rising to become the deputy director of the Criminal Investigation Bureau. Within the force, he was nicknamed Number 2 Brother, and he had a reputation for being sharp, fearless, and connected. It's not hard to see why that made people think twice about messing with Simon. Having a brother that high up in law enforcement gave Simon an automatic layer of protection, even if he never asked for it. But Simon's reputation didn't rely on his brother alone. He built it himself through years of hard work, smart choices, and loyalty, qualities that meant everything in both the film world and the streets. He never tried to act like a tough guy, but he didn't back down from pressure either. He knew how to speak the right language with the right people. He played his cards carefully, never getting too close, but never disrespecting anyone either. More importantly, Simon never forgot where he came from. Even as he started earning more money and climbing the ranks in the industry, he remained grounded. Directors liked him because he was reliable. Crews liked him because he treated everyone on set equally. And gangsters liked him because he kept his word and didn't act like a prima donna. He didn't need to carry himself like a mobster to gain respect. He simply did his job and kept things clean. Still, the rumors wouldn't die. When asked directly in interviews about his so-called underworld connections, Simon always chose his words carefully. He never confirmed anything. He never denied much either. One time, when a talk show host asked if there was anyone forcing him to do so many films in a single year, at one point, up to 17 in just 12 months, Simon smiled and replied, "There are some things you just can't talk about." It wasn't an admission, but it wasn't a denial either. That kind of answer only added fuel to the fire. Behind the scenes, Simon did face real pressure. He admitted later that there were times when he didn't want to take a certain role, but couldn't say no. He also revealed that shady producers would sometimes set up shell companies to shoot a single movie, then disappear before paying the cast and crew. If you wanted to chase down your paycheck, good luck. You wouldn't even know who to call. Even through all that, Simon never once leaned on his brother's name to solve a problem. He fought his own battles. He took the losses. He stayed quiet when others might have gone public. That silence, that control, earned him respect, not just from fans, but from the people who really ran things behind the scenes. One of the most telling moments came in 1996, when director Johnny Tu launched his own production company, Milky Way Image. At the time, he wasn't yet the filmmaking giant we know today. He needed actors badly, but couldn't get anyone to sign with him because the company had no name, no money, and no protection. So, Johnny Tu did something bold. He marched into the headquarters of Charles Hung's film company and tried to recruit actors from under their noses. It almost turned violent. Tensions flared between the two sides. A clash seemed inevitable. But before fists flew, it was Simon Yam who stepped in. Calm, composed, and fearless, he acted as the middleman. He sat both parties down and helped ease the tension. In the end, not only was disaster avoided, but the two groups actually became friends. That wasn't luck. That was Simon Yam doing what he had always done best, navigating chaos with cool-headed professionalism. He was never a gangster. He didn't have to be. In a world full of show-offs and power plays, Simon Yam's greatest weapon was respect, and he earned it the hard way. Simon Yam had spent decades proving himself in front of the camera, but it was what he did off-screen that truly defined the man he was. Beneath the tough, mysterious characters he often played, he was a devoted husband, a caring father, and one of the most respected veterans in the Hong Kong film industry. His love story with Chi-Chi, a beautiful model from Shanghai, sounded like something out of a movie. One day, in 1991, Simon was flipping through a fashion magazine when he spotted her photo. It was just a side profile, but something about her elegance stopped him in his tracks. She had a soft smile, graceful posture, and eyes that seemed kind even in still print. He was immediately drawn to her, but at the time, he had no way of reaching out. All he could do was keep the image in his mind and quietly hope fate would cross their paths. 2 years later, that's exactly what happened. Simon was invited to Austria to film a travel program, and by pure coincidence, Chi-Chi was living there at the time, working and studying in Europe's fashion scene. One afternoon, while walking into the hotel lobby, Simon saw her, this time in real life. She was with friends, laughing. Without thinking twice, he walked straight up to her and asked for her number. He didn't try to be flashy or charming. He just wanted to talk to the woman he hadn't stopped thinking about since that magazine photo. That night, he invited her to dinner. She showed up with her parents and a few friends, and Simon, not wanting to look too eager, brought some of his colleagues along too. When the bill came, he tried to pay, but Chi-Chi's father beat him to it. Not exactly the romantic moment he had imagined, but it didn't matter. He had made a connection. A few nights later, they had dinner again, just the two of them. Simon took her to a fancy Chinese restaurant, thinking she'd want an extravagant meal. But Chi-Chi surprised him by ordering plain white rice and tofu. She told him she liked simple, clean food. That one comment stuck with him. She wasn't impressed by money or flash. She valued sincerity and simplicity. After returning to Hong Kong, Simon began seriously pursuing her. He wasn't rich compared to the men she probably knew, but he made it clear he was serious. He opened a joint bank account and gave her full access. To him, if she was going to be his partner, then she deserved to be trusted completely. He told her he didn't want her to feel like she had to rely on her own money. He wanted to be the one taking care of her. As their relationship deepened, Simon made a conscious decision to shift the types of roles he accepted. He had built much of his career on edgy films, often playing dangerous or seductive characters. But he knew that kind of work wouldn't sit right with the woman he loved. Even though Chi-Chi never demanded it, Simon began turning down scripts that felt too provocative or exploitative. He wanted to be someone she could be proud of. In December 1997, the two were married in a quiet, elegant ceremony. From then on, no matter how busy Simon was with work, he always made time for family. When he wasn't on set, he could be found at home doing everyday things like cooking, laundry, or helping around the house. Fame never changed him. He stayed grounded, and that groundedness became the backbone of their marriage. Over time, Simon became known not just as an actor, but as a man of principle. He didn't chase headlines. He didn't live for the red carpet. What mattered most to him was the work itself, telling stories that meant something. He also cared deeply about the future of Hong Kong cinema. As the mainland Chinese film industry exploded in popularity and influence, many Hong Kong stars struggled to adapt. But Simon encouraged young actors to embrace the change, to go north and experience the culture, food, and opportunities mainland China had to offer. He believed in building bridges, not walls. Despite his legendary status, Simon never saw himself as untouchable. In interviews, he often said he was just lucky to still be working. While other veteran actors were being pushed into side roles or disappearing from the spotlight, Simon stayed relevant by choosing roles that matched his age and experience. He didn't need to be the lead in every film. What he needed was a good script and a character with depth. That quiet strength, both on screen and off, made Simon Yam more than just a movie star. He became a role model. He didn't rise through scandals or flashy PR. He rose because he never gave up, never lost his humility, and never forgot the people who helped him along the way. To the public, he was the cool, mysterious actor who never seemed to age. But to those who knew him best, he was just Simon, the guy who worked hard, loved harder, and stayed true to himself no matter what. Simon Yam's career is more than just a filmography. It's a story of survival, loyalty, and quiet strength. While others chased fame, he earned respect. Whether facing gangster threats, personal heartbreak, or years of being overlooked, Simon never compromised who he was. Today, he stands as a symbol of integrity in a world that often rewards the opposite. His story proves you don't need to be loud to be legendary. If this journey inspired you, show your support by hitting like, dropping a comment, and subscribing to the channel for more untold stories behind Asia's most unforgettable figures.